Hello, John Bloodworth, Gentleman Crafter here with a little bit of an update about the Artspira app, which is a companion app for the Brother Scan and Cut. The recent update to this app means that we now have some basic editing features within the app itself, which is kind of cool. So let's switch over to the phone and take a look. So I've got my Artspira app here. And I'm just going to open that. And here's our home screen. So at the top we have embroidery designs, cutting designs, projects and design templates. Below that we have the weekly magazines, which is now up to issue 14. So you can obviously scroll back through some of those and take a look if you would like to. There's some new cutting files here as well for you to have a play with, and of course some more down here as well to take a look through. Do bear in mind that this kind of gives you embroidery designs as well as cutting designs, so look out for the cutting machine icon that you see on screen. Now let's take a look at some of these design tools that we now have available. So I'll begin by tapping on New, and then we now have Drawing Tools and Design Editor for Embroidery, but we need to be in Cutting, so I'll tap over to Cutting. And we've also got the ability to do tracing here as well by using our camera or from photos that we've got in our phone. So let's take a look at this Design Editor first. We can choose the 12 by 12 mat or 12 by 24. Obviously I'm working in millimeters here, so they're given in those sizes. And we have the option to show the grid. So let's choose 305 by 305, which is the 12 by 12 mat. We can see that there. And we now have the option to add something or add some text. So let's start by just tapping on this plus icon. And then we'll get the library of designs available to us here. Now if you come across any that you'd like to save for future use or you think will be very, very useful, you can tap on the heart icon to add them to your favorites, or just tap on the actual icon itself to load that onto the cutting mat. If I then just tap on the tick here, that then takes me back to this particular screen. If I tap on the object itself, obviously the bounding box comes up, which you're probably familiar with from Canvas Workspace, and then a range of options come up along the bottom of the screen. Now you can use the change icon to go back in and change this design to something else. So I could change it to this, or I could change it back. Tick to confirm. I can then select something and group it with others, or use the overlap functions to weld or divide. And we can tap OK to come out of that. Tap the object again, and we can change the fill color. And this generally is useful for identifying parts of the design. You can also change the line color. We can change the operation output from cut to draw. So for example, here we've got some of the score lines. We can change those to draw or back. And that applies to any part of the design. We can choose move to have fine control over where we rotate something. So by 90 degrees, 10 degrees or 1 degrees using these icons on the right. We can move it up and down in increments of 1 millimeter or left and right in the same increments. Or we can also flip it horizontally or vertically. Not so evident on this design, but very useful when we come to text. We can also have fine control over the size of it. And we can lock and unlock the aspect ratio as well, so we can stretch or deform by just the height or just the width, or with the padlock on we can tap the plus or minus to make changes to both. Now with smaller designs we can duplicate, so let me change this for something smaller. Let's say this little butterfly. Tick and duplicate. Now I can either just increase the number or decrease the number, or with this option on the right I can tile it horizontally until the point where there's not enough room, at which point you'll get that error message, or vertically, again you'll get the error message if there's not enough space. Tick to confirm, and then you could actually go ahead and change individual elements of that to be something else, and that loads up as something else. Alternatively, we can delete something from that mat. So with the object selected, we can change the object itself, the color, the operation output, the position, the size, and the number of repetitions of that design. So that's kind of cool. Now when it comes to text, we've got this little T icon at the bottom, so we press the T. We can then type our word using the keyboard on your phone, press done to add that text, and we then have it here. With the text selected, again we can click change, and this won't change the design to something else, but you can change the word. You can group it with other objects and use the weld and divide function. With the text selected, again we can change the fill color and the line color. I'm making an assumption that this turns on the draw fill feature of the machine, but I haven't yet tested that to its full potential. As I say, we can change the operation, and we can change the operation of any object on the mat as well. So this is almost like your layers palette, except we can't move them around in the layers. Movement again gives us the option to rotate, move up and down, left and right, or indeed flip. So let's select the text, and we can see that by flipping it horizontally or vertically we can do that. Great for using with vinyl that you'll stick on the inside of windows. Now for sizing we don't have that option here. However, you can use 2-finger taps to change the size on the screen. So I'm using 2 fingers to drag that out. We don't have super control over the orientation, but we can then tap and move it, and we can go back into rotate to rotate it back to a reasonably straight line. If you don't like that particular font style, tap font, and you will then have the option to change to one of several pre-designed fonts. And we can change the size and the spacing here. So size we can go up in 1mm increments, and character spacing we can go plus, but we can't go minus. So if we are going to use the overlap feature to weld that A and N together, we would have to do something else to weld the rest. To change the text while we're in this screen, you tap the keyboard icon that's here on the left, and then tap the A to go back to the font and the sizing. When you've done all your changes, click Done. Now because these are overlapping, I am going to not move, I am going to select, overlap and weld, and we can see that the overlapped A and N are now welded together. Tap OK to come out of that. Tap the text again. I don't think there's anything else to show you. Once you've welded, this does become a regular object, so you won't have access to the font changes, but you will have access to the size changes and everything else that we've shown so far. Duplicate again, we can tile according to size. Of course, we wouldn't have these overlapping if we were going to go ahead and cut these. But once you've done your design, you would tap Done. You've got the option to save it, and there's 20 slots available within the app to save to. I'm going to hit Don't Save because I'm not going to come back to this design. And then if you've registered your machine, it will show up here, and then you would tap Transfer and confirm this error message that says transferring overwrites the data already stored in your temporary data pocket. That's fine. We click OK, and then it will transfer the design and tell you when it's done that. And you can then pick it up on your machine. Now, for the line art tracing, I'm going to show you a very, very basic operation. I've got a whiteboard here that I'm just going to draw a basic flower on. Really basic. In fact, that's ridiculous. Even more ridiculous. But what we would do here is tap Line Art Tracing, choose the matte size, and then we've got the option to import from our camera roll or gallery, so I could try tracing any of these images. However, what I want to do is use the camera, so there's a little icon top right with the camera on it. So I'm going to tap that, and it will then bring up my camera, and this is going to be difficult to show. But I am going to position the design, trying to crop out as much other stuff as possible. Tap the Take Picture button, click OK. Now the image exceeds the matte size, so it's going to be reduced to fit. Click OK. And then we've got options to trace outer edge only or trace areas by colour. I'm going to choose the outer edge only, reduce the number of colours to 2, and click Preview. As with Canvas Workspace, once it's done its calculations, we should get a turquoise line around the outside of the design that we've created. Now this is assuming we've got closed shapes. As far as I can see, everything that applied to Canvas Workspace when it came to tracing applies here. So we can see it has come up with that. We'll click Done, then click Next. And this should then transfer that design onto our cutting mat, ready for us to work with. I don't want to save this, I just want to work with it, so don't save. But we've now got our design there, and I can transfer it to my machine. Again, click OK to that message, and it's sent the data over. I can go back if I want to do anything else, like change the size. And that also increases the size of the picture itself. At this time I can't see a way to export the picture as well to print, but there we go. Change would obviously get us back to doing this from scratch. And trace would basically go back to the original options that we've got available. So I could trace areas by colour, include the background, or increase the number of colours to be traced. So we've got plenty of options there to use our phone to create cutting outlines. Now I'm going to come out of that, discard those changes, and that, as far as I can see, are the major changes to the app at this time. My Creations is where any that you've created and saved would appear, and of course you can link your Canvas Workspace account from here, but do bear in mind these designs that you create here don't get uploaded to your Canvas Workspace, they just get saved in the app on your phone. So if you want to come back to them, you'll need to retrieve them here. Of course, once you have sent them over to your cutting machine, you can go ahead and save them to your Canvas Workspace account via whichever method you use. So there you go, a few updates for the app that's kind of made it a little bit cooler and a little bit more creative. Yes, that's it for this video. Don't forget, I've got 3 full courses over on the Udemy website. I'll leave links to those below this video on YouTube. And of course, do subscribe to the channel, although there is something exciting coming soon that I'll tell you about again in another video. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, any questions, comments, put them below the video. Thanks for watching.